It says brother realizes the cops discover his horrifying secret. See, look.
911.
Hi, I need someone to come to my house immediately.
Okay, what's going on over there?
We just found 2 bags in the shed, and this fly though, I think they're in the shed in a bag, okay? And I'm just scared to open it.
So we found the spare, and there was a bag covered in flies. It smelled like death. And we were trying to figure out what was in it. So her dad and brother
said it smelled like death.
What
You know what?
Pulled the plastic apart, and then both screamed, freaked out, and ran from the shed.
The end is near, and so I face the final curtain. For you? Why for you? Because if that's her in my shed, I'm done, son. I'm done.
They had been missing for some days.
I'm fucking with it. See what I'm saying? I like this, but then watch this. If they would have put 2 together, they would have put one that said, "Oh my God, sir. Like, what's going on? Get my son. Come get him. Come get." Yeah, I remember that one I watched. Y'all know which one. Y'all know which one I'm talking about.
They were in the garage.
I walked up, then I observed the garbage bag on the ground directly in front of me, ripped open.
The family is completely oblivious to the morbid details.
What makes you think that she's there? What makes you think something happened to her?
Don't make me think she's there. Don't tell me she's there. I can't even.
It began on the 23rd of August, 2018. A day like any other in Clinton Township, Michigan. Suburban, quiet, forgettable. But behind one faded trailer door, something had already started to unravel. Hello, and welcome to the channel, where we dive into the heinous true crime cases that can shock you as to the extent of human behavior. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and Danielle Marjeshka and for notifications. This is the tragic story of Danielle Marjeshka and Saren Bryan. Northeast of Detroit was filled with rows of homes, some permanent, some not. In one of the larger trailer parks, a unit was rented by Robert Joseph Marjeshka, who lived there with his 3 children. His eldest, Robert Jr., 24, followed by 23-year-old Kevin and 18-year-old Danielle. Danielle's boyfriend, Saren Bryan, had also moved in after years of long-distance visits. By then, the house was full, but it was about to get very empty very fast. Inside the trailer, everyone had a room except Joseph, who gave his bedroom to the kids and slept on the couch. Danielle and Saren shared one room. The family was close-knit and loved and accepted everyone. Kevin and his girlfriend shared another room in the house. It looked like a family making things work, but looks don't last long. Danielle worked night shifts at National Coney Island, a local restaurant chain. Saren worked there too. They didn't have a car, so a friend usually picked them up and dropped them off. That friend would later say something strange happened the next day, something she couldn't explain.
I dropped them off after work on Thursday morning. They've been missing since Thursday at 8 a.m. That's when I dropped them off. That's the last time they were seen.
Where'd you drop them off?
Here, their house, after work.
That was the last time you saw them?
That's the last time anyone saw them.
On the night of August 22nd, the 3 of them worked their usual 9 p.m. shift. Around 8 the next morning, Danielle and Saren were dropped back at the trailer. As they walked in, Joseph stepped out to start his day, saying goodbye. He would never see them ever again. Danielle and Saren were both scheduled to work that day. That friend messaged around 1 p.m. Her car had broken down. By 5, she had a new ride. At 7, it fell through. They'd need other plans. But Danielle never
now we're just trying to gather all the information.
Danielle was always on her phone, texting, scrolling, updating, and even carrying her charger everywhere. Friends said if she didn't answer, something was wrong. And something was wrong. By evening, it was clear. Danielle had vanished from the digital world, and not by choice. Hours turned into 2 days.
I like the way he's doing his wordplay and shit. That's why I fuck with Crime Explorer. I like the way he's not by choice. I like
the afternoon of August 24th, someone finally came knocking, and what they found inside would turn Clinton Township into a crime scene. There could have been 100 harmless reasons why Danielle hadn't answered, but her friends knew her. The next morning, after a long shift of her own, the friend drove straight to the trailer. Joseph and Robert were there, friendly, calm, normal enough, if not for the fact that Danielle and Saren were still nowhere to be found. Something didn't sit right. Her friend noticed that Danielle's charger sat on the floor by the bed. She never
ain't
left
take
without
that on
it,
God.
which meant...
Yeah, we remember that. We remember. She always took that charger now. She ain't never leave without that charger now.
And left. When other friends showed up, they found Saren's wallet, Danielle's glucose meter. Being a diabetic, Danielle couldn't leave it behind.
Oh, so she still never left.
Meter to live. On August 26th,
so that means she
the concern
never
inside
left.
The house started to spread. Kevin, Danielle's brother, and his girlfriend Erin had stayed quiet at first, then decided to take action. Kevin stepped into Danielle's room again to look for a clue, but what he found was outside the window. The grass in the yard was torn up, flattened in patches, twisted in others. Someone had moved something heavy through it again and again. Whatever happened, it hadn't stayed indoors. He walked out to the shed, which was locked. When he finally opened the door, there was a cloud of black flies. At the back of the shed, two large black plastic bags sat side by side. They were too heavy to move. By now, Joseph was inside as well. Kevin didn't ask questions, just grabbed a box cutter. And then he sliced the plastic.
So we found the spare, and there was a bag covered in flies. It smelled like death, and we were trying to figure out what was in it. So her dad and brother cut it open and pulled the plastic apart, and then both screamed, freaked out, and ran to the shed.
What spilled out was not trash. It was not garden clippings. It was a human leg. The shed went silent. Then someone called the police. The call came through just after 9 p.m.
911, where's your emergency?
Hello?
Hello, 911.
Hi, I need someone to come to my house immediately.
They said a human leg popped out that bit.
My sister's been missing for 4 or 5 days. Her and her boyfriend. And we just found 2 bags in the shed, and there's flies all, I think they're in the shed in a bag, okay? And I'm just scared to open it.
While calling the police, Kevin appeared rather calm, except when he started cursing.
Okay, we don't want you to touch anything, okay? Because if it is something like that, there's going to be evidence, okay?
We stopped.
Okay, you said there's how many bags in that shed?
There's like 5 bags, but these 2 are the ones with flies all over them, okay? Can you just get someone here to check, please?
Yep, we're getting everyone on the way. What's your name?
Kevin Marzeka. Get over here, please.
Officers were dispatched to the mobile home in Clinton Township. All they were told was there was a body. They didn't yet know what was in store for them. When the police arrived, Joseph was outside with his arms crossed. Kevin tried to explain why they called the police, fumbling for words.
Hi.
Hey,
So what's going on here?
So, my sister, his daughter, has been missing for 5 days now.
Okay.
I did a walk around the house to check if there's any betrayals or anything suspicious. I've seen a boatload of flies behind the shed. And when I pulled things out, we have these
It
bags
smells like death in there.
filled with flies, and they don't look good.
I can't even open them.
Finally, Joseph broke his silence. He couldn't even bear the thought of the grim possibility that his daughter was stuffed into a bag like garbage. It was Kevin who first led authorities to the shed. The officers
So who
peered into the
did
shed.
it, bro?
One look,
That's what I'm trying to
and
see. Who
protocol
like
kicked
did
in.
the shit?
What makes you think that she's there? What do you think something happens to her?
Don't make me think she's there. Don't tell me she's there. I can't even.
So let's just see what we got first. And yeah, I mean, we don't even know what we have. That doesn't look normal. Let's grab a mask.
The area was sealed off while they prepared to enter. For the first time, the house on that quiet street felt dangerous.
Shit,
Yellow
no.
tape surrounded it like a noose. One of the officers saw someone wearing a black t-shirt, their thigh exposed.
And immediately could see a person wearing a black t-shirt, and then I observed the left thigh skin exposed of a person.
It was human
Oh, hell
remains,
no.
just as they feared.
Oh yeah, it's dude.
We don't have to cut. We're confirmed. Confirmed.
It's confirmed. Yes, it is.
Inside the bags, they found not one, but 2 sets of limbs and a pair of torsos. The heads were missing.
What the
This
fuck?
meant someone had slain 2 people and hidden them in the shed. Whoever had done this hadn't just committed homicide, they had taken the time to dismember and relocate the bodies. The horrific truth? It was someone who knew the house intimately, as they knew exactly where to hide the bodies and lock the door with a key. The bodies were confirmed to be Danielle's and Saren's, identified through tattoos, scars, the familiar curve of a shoulder. Even police recovered the heads as well. But it wasn't just their condition that disturbed detectives. It was where they had been hidden. Right there in the family's own shed, behind the lawnmower and the tools. Joseph lived only steps away, so why hadn't he noticed the smell? Officers re-entered the trailer. This time, it wasn't a courtesy check. It was a crime scene search. They combed through bedrooms, pulled sheets, and opened drawers. And what they found deepened the mystery. Cleaning supplies were everywhere. Bleach, gloves, heavy-duty trash bags, even a damp mop bucket sat in the corner. It wasn't just tidying up. Someone was trying too hard. The officers took it in, then turned to Joseph. Something didn't add up.
It's kind of rough, isn't it, man? Yeah, not for a little while. When your shed locked, right?
No.
You and Kevin were in, right?
Yep.
Whose key did you use?
Mine.
There were blood traces, small, almost missed, in the bathroom and Danielle's room. Not enough for 2 people, but enough to know this had started inside. Then came the autopsies. Both victims had been stabbed multiple times, and there was no sign of a struggle. But it only got worse from there. There were signs the bodies had been kept somewhere else before being moved to the shed, possibly in the very rooms the family still slept in. And someone had used a saw. The case was no longer just about murder. It was about how close horror can sit, hidden right in plain sight.
Like what? Like in your house?
Can keep smiling in its shadow.
Like this shit is in your house. How do you not know? Like
what
what?
had happened? Both victims were in an advanced state of decomposition. The likely cause of death was asphyxiation. In the shed alongside the bodies, investigators discovered a plastic bag containing bloody items, a rubber hammer, likely the weapon used in the attack, pillows, more duct tape, and a sheet that appeared to have come from their bed. A search of the bedroom would reveal even more chilling details. When luminol was applied, the scene lit up. For days, people had been coming and going, oblivious to the horror unfolding right under their noses. A bloodbath had taken place, and it had been there all along. More blood-soaked evidence was found, hidden away inside a closet. Someone had quickly stuffed everything into their closet to hide it.
I opened up a bag.
Like, come on, cuz.
Found
That shit is like
items inside of it covered in blood.
TJ
One of
and
which
I.
was a small mallet. Immediately thought that, hey, we could possibly have a murder weapon here. We continued on. Duct tape with blood on it. There was bed sheets with blood on it.
Police brought Kevin and Joseph to the station for questioning. Outwardly, Kevin looked heartbroken over his sister. But was he being entirely honest? Unknowingly, Kevin revealed something important.
I'm gonna wait here until the detectives get here, okay? No problem.
What's your name? Kevin. Kevin, Joe Burns. I'm a detective here.
Can't quit.
How's Saren's relationship been with Danielle? I mean, they get along.
I mean, from what I was told from her friends,
Okay.
that her boyfriend would never hurt her. So I figured if, she got her, he was with her,
So, just so I can get this straight in my head, because I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
Living there at that time, so within the last week, I had you living there? Your dad?
Yeah.
Saren?
Yeah.
Danielle? Was there anybody else?
My brother.
Okay, and what's your brother's name?
Robert.
Okay.
The investigation quickly focused on those closest to the victims, with one individual standing out, the the one person who wasn't present when the bodies were discovered, Robert Marjeshka. He had been at the house since the victims went missing, but when the bodies were found, he had disappeared.
Were you trying to communicate with him that night?
I tried on Facebook Messenger.
Okay, but you didn't try
And, well, the thing is, I could tell, he caught, drift of what's going on, and he pretty much said he's shutting his phone off. I gotta go charge my phone, and then he never came back online.
Right.
So I didn't bother trying to call, trying to text. If he's not coming back online, he's obviously knows what's going on at that point.
He left the house and checked into a motel 6 minutes away, and officers decided to bring him down to the station. Meanwhile, they branched out to ask about Joseph.
What about your dad? How's your dad?
He's always a drunk.
Okay.
And we lost my mom in 2011, and he's never really been the same, 3 kids, we've been on our own pretty much since,
What does he do?
He paints.
Okay. So has he been painting at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's been going out to work, but you said he's drinking quite a bit?
Yeah.
Everything appeared normal. Joseph was fine, but he had suffered a massive loss merely years ago, and when drunk, he was a completely different person. Did this person have anything to do with the tragedy that befell the Marjeshkas? There was only one way to find out for sure.
I do it for you about her. And now, the end is near. And so I face the final curtain.
For you? Why for you?
Because if that's hurt in my shed, I'm done, son. I'm done.
As Joseph was brought in for questioning, he kept saying contradicting things. The whole day, Joseph told the officers that they had used his key to open the shed, when suddenly something dawned on him. It wasn't his key, it was Kevin's, but the officer wasn't buying it.
And you don't remember whose key you used to get in there?
You know what? My key wasn't on the shelf.
Right.
I remember that.
Now you
Where it
remember.
always is.
Now you remembered after I told you that.
What?
Because the whole day you were telling me that it was your key you were using.
Because that's what I always use. All right?
And when I told you that...
Well, believe me, I've been slept in days.
Okay, well, I get
Listen.
that.
Listen.
Joseph did not back down. He kept insisting and told the officer everything he knew about the key.
I remember it because I went up on the shelf where I have the house keys and it wasn't there. So I said, my key's not there. And I checked my pockets, because sometimes I have it. No, it wasn't there. Because we had to break the damn lock to get in.
Right.
Since the conversation was going nowhere, the officer tried to ask him more about Robert Jr.
Hold on, that ain't what he
son.
said, though.
However, Joseph seemed a little defensive.
Where is Robert staying at right now?
I have no clue.
You said Robert was with you when you went to work on Thursday?
Yeah.
Did he pick you up, or did you go pick him up, or how did it work?
No, he picked me up. He dropped me off.
Okay. So he picked you up in the morning, dropped you off at 5:30.
Yep.
So you were with him the whole day.
Yes.
I'm trying to put pieces together because we want to talk to Robert so that we can get his story too.
I'd rather not involve somebody that doesn't need to be involved.
You realize we're talking about possibly dead people here, right?
He didn't want Robert to be a part of the investigation. Why? The answer: all the evidence and blood splatters were found in none other than Robert Jr.'s room and bathroom. His closet held all the incriminating evidence. What exactly was Joseph trying to hide? The detectives were contacted by a cousin.
So it was his son, his other son.
Something crucial to share. He believed the exact same thing. Joseph was hiding something. As much as he loved his daughter, Joseph couldn't risk losing both the children. A lot didn't add up. He then revealed something that could help solve this case once and for all.
His story was just so flawed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think for a minute he could ever or would ever do that to Danielle. But mean, I think he knows. I think he knows what happened, and probably trying to help little Robert get a head start. And I'm like, so when did you discover? When did you discover the body? I go, Kevin said he did, and he goes, no, I did on Friday.
Any idea where he would go?
It's in the western part of Florida.
Sarasota?
So they thinking he did it.
Pensacola. Yeah, I'm almost positive that's it.
7 years ago, Robert had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and paranoia. He'd been hospitalized multiple times over the years.
It looked like
His
Luca,
condition
man.
had worsened after his mother's passing. Voices began to haunt him, but he refused to accept his diagnosis and stopped taking his medication. Robert had worked in Detroit, but recently returned to Clinton Township, working with his father as a general contractor. As an alcoholic, his behavior had become increasingly erratic and aggressive. Robert was now a person of interest in the case. Police urged the public to be on the lookout for his vehicle. He was driving a white 1999 Ford E250 van, license plate DGM 7658, with blue duct tape around the rear window. They knew they had to find him. He had left the inn, leaving behind his phone, laptop, and some personal items, and driven the work van to Toledo. Police were able to recover the van at a local grocery store. Toledo police were informed, especially since Robert's cousin had pinpointed exactly where he might be. Surveillance footage showed him casually strolling through the aisles. The police, by now on high alert, had already visited bus stations, handing out his photo. What they didn't expect was Robert's attempt at disguise. He wore a blonde wig, a hat, and sunglasses. They could have missed him, but his plan didn't go as he'd hoped. He stood out instead of blending in. He also purchased a cell phone. More importantly, he made a mistake. He returned the cell phone and proceeded to a gas station to buy some food. He was nonchalant, completely relaxed, nor did he look particularly upset. Officers knew they had to be quick. By August 29th, they knew he would try to escape via bus or train, so they traced him to the station. He had bought a Greyhound bus ticket under an alias and had left on the 28th of August, to arrive in Cincinnati around 11 a.m. the following day. Greyhound employees immediately alerted the police to his arrival. In Cincinnati, Robert wandered the Greyhound station before asking an employee to use a computer.
Ain't no way.
He also inquired where he could find a cell phone. She had no idea that she was in the presence of a cold-blooded killer. He was directed to a nearby library, but the police weren't far behind. As he casually strode about, oblivious to the U.S. Marshals in plain clothes, they planned how to arrest him, when they had an unexpected confrontation. While they were looking at his picture in order to ID him, the elevator doors opened, and just like that, the manhunt was over. But the truth of what had transpired remained chillingly unclear. Only Robert knew the truth of what doors opened. While they were looking at his picture in order to ID him, the elevator doors opened, and just like that, the manhunt was over. But the truth of what had transpired remained chillingly unclear. Only Robert knew what had happened that day. His interrogation footage shows Robert's attempt to downplay the horror of his actions.
Obviously what happened was something unimaginable, you know, and it happened to your sister, which is awful, okay? But a lot of times there's reasons why things happen, and whether those reasons are understandable or not, I'm just here to hear you out, okay? So, what did you have to say to us?
When asked what happened, his response was detached, almost as if he couldn't fathom the gravity of the situation. Instead, he was more worried about his own skin. And as he was reading his charges, something stumped him.
Something happened to take you off, or what happened? Well, my first question is, what is my charges exactly? I can show it to you, okay? Normally, you got 2 counts. This is the charge document here. 2 counts of homicide, murder in the first degree. What is first degree? Premeditated.
Stunned, he wanted to understand exactly how much trouble he was in.
It means you plan to do it. And if that's not the case, you tell me. You're looking at the worst charge possible. Okay? Killing 2 people. Alright? But nobody can understand why this happened.
Robert looked extremely worried. He was looking at some serious time here, yet he refused to cooperate. He requested to talk to his brother, Kevin.
Hello? Hello?
So, are you gonna make this case go easier, bro?
I don't know.
Kevin cut right to the chase, speaking softly, hoping Robert would help. But Robert knew if he opened his mouth, he could be in a lot more trouble. Instead, he wanted to know how his family was doing, which led to an incredulous response from his little brother.
Are you guys okay in the house? Like,
We're not living there anymore, Rob. There's blood everywhere. So, are you pleading guilty to everything?
no, I'm not. What?
Why?
I can't really talk about it on the phone, but
Robert was really disconnected from the heinousness of his actions, but he knew the consequences, so he kept rubbing his face. The charges were made clear: 2 counts of murder. Robert, ever evasive, denied responsibility, even as his own DNA was found at the crime scene, staining the evidence. Police finally put together the details of that fateful day. Danielle and Saren had returned home at 8 a.m., presumably exhausted from their shifts. They went straight to bed, unaware that Robert was the only other person in the house. At some point while they slept, he made his move. The exact moment remains unclear, but the aftermath was unmistakable. Then, as if the horror wasn't enough, he callously left their bodies in a shed out back and attempted to clean up the scene, as though wiping away evidence could absolve him. Despite the brutality of his actions, Robert seemed detached from the magnitude of what he had done. At 1:20 a.m., Robert ordered a cab to take him to a Wendy's, still covered in blood. He had just committed a gruesome act, yet he moved with chilling indifference.
That shit
Shortly
crazy.
after, Robert
Nigga went to go. He
disappeared,
went to go
or
get something
so
to
he
eat.
thought. Robert's legal team leaned on mental illness, but the insanity defense collapsed, and they shifted their focus, aiming for a second-degree conviction instead of the first. But the jury wasn't convinced. They saw through it, deciding Robert knew exactly what he was doing. His appeal was denied, and the true reason behind the killings was never made clear. He never spoke, never explained, just left behind horror, heartbreak, and a silence no one could understand. Robert Marjeshka was sentenced on January 14th, 2020, to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. The truth behind his actions may never be fully understood, but one thing is clear: Robert Marjeshka is exactly where he belongs. That's it for today. Let us know what you think by leaving a like or a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon for notifications.